Hi, hello creatives, welcome back or to my channel. My name is Lindsay and today we are diving into my 2023 reading journal. I'm going to do my spreads for the books that I read in both January and February. I read a total of, I think, 6 books so far, so 3 in each month, which, I mean, my goal for the year is 20, I believe, which is under 2 books a month. So I'm definitely on track. If not, I'm, 2 books ahead. But as you see, I already did the January, I guess, monthly dashboard title page for January. And then as I was doing it, I'm like, I should definitely film this. So here we are filming it after I already completed this, but you'll see that I read 3 books, the 8 Perfect Hours, Things We Never Got Over, and The Midnight Library. So what I do in my journal and what I did last year as well that I'm continuing to do for this year is the books that I basically rate less than 5 stars, kind of. Yeah, less than like 4.5 stars. I tend to only do like this type of page where I have the cover page on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, I just kind of do an overview of, title, author, genre, format that I read it in, the amount of pages it is, just an overview of what the book was. I don't really, make notes or anything while I'm reading the book. I really should. I should really use my iPad and kind of jot notes of things that are happening throughout the book because I am very forgetful. And, looking back at this book, it's kind of like, what the heck happened again? But I know I did rate this 4 stars, and I know I really did enjoy this book. It was about basically a couple, or 2 separate people that meet each other, and they're stuck in traffic for 8 hours, and they tend to keep running into each other later, and it's just very cute how they their lives kind of intertwine without them really realizing it, and it's just it's quite cute, and it was a book that I really enjoyed reading the beginning of the year. It's about, here in Ontario, January is quite cold and full of snow, so I thought that this was a perfect book to read since I didn't get to read any like Christmas themed books in December, so this kind of made up for that for me. And so as you see on the right hand side, I'm just filling out the different kind of prompts that I will answer for each book that I don't do a full spread on. I'm still doing a spread on this book, yes, but you'll see in the future, or shortly, of books or of spreads that I do for books that I rate about 4.5 to 5 stars. I don't rate books 4.5 stars very often, but it happens. And so, yeah, I read this book from December 29th until January 14th. It was 336 pages. It was like a slow medium pace. It was a physical copy that I got from the book outlet, and then I just kind of go in for spice, characters, plot, and then my overall rating. In the middle there, between the when and the spice rating, I will sometimes I'll just say exactly what I wrote as my review on Goodreads, but sometimes I can kind of, freeball it and just kind of, freestyle it. Anyway, so now we're moving on to the next spread, which is this book I rated 4.5 stars. This was actually an audiobook that I listened to, and this is Things We Never Got Over from the Knock 'Em Out series. I'm actually currently reading the next book in the series, Things We Hide from the Light, which is about, so Things We Never Got Over is about Naomi and Knox, and the Things We Hide from the Light is about Nash and Lena. I'm very impressed with myself that I'm remembering the names, because normally I kind of forget. I kind of forget sometimes. But I did really enjoy this book. I liked that this book had like a crime case that they were following on top of it being like a love story. And, there's a little bit of smut in there. And it's just, I'm also a big fan of the grumpy sunshine trope. So that's why I also really enjoyed this book. It really gave me, I don't know if you've ever seen Jane the Virgin on Netflix, or it is on Netflix anyways, but I freaking loved that TV series. And because it was like a love story, but there was also so much more to what was happening. And yeah, I just really liked that series, and that kind of, that TV series, and this series, the Knock 'Em Out series, kind of reminds me of that, just because, again, there's a little bit more depth than just the love story. There's the kind of crime aspect that's involved as well, which is, yeah, I really enjoy. So as you see, I gather photos off of Pinterest, and I just kind of type in things we never got over. I sometimes add aesthetic at the end, sometimes I don't. And I kind of go through and add photos where I want to, you know, remember certain things if things happened, or a certain photo to kind of represent something that happened in the book. Because, I mean, as I mentioned, I'm kind of forgetful. So it kind of, you know, retells me the story as I'm looking at the photos. I'm not one to sit and write, you know, a page or two of my thoughts and feelings of a book. I'm not a critic. I'm a math girl. Words are not my thing. So, you know, visually, I like to know, okay, this book, you know, I really enjoyed it. This is what I decided to do to show myself that I did really enjoy it. And then again, these photos kind of represent things that have happened, or cutesy things that happened throughout the book. And that's why, you know, I decided to do it that way. So again, I rated that 4.5 stars. And then moving on to the next one. This one was a really, I want to say fun read, but it wasn't necessarily a fun read because it was like, it had depth to the story. I really enjoyed this book. I rated it 5 stars. It's called The Midnight Library. And I like this book. I mean, not that it is going to, like, if you have serious mental health, you know, concerns, and you struggle a lot with mental health, like, this book isn't going to cure you by any means, because obviously you need to talk to a professional. But this book kind of, for me, it seems if you're stuck and you're like, it's definitely not going to cure depression by any means. And I know that, you know, I've read some other reviews of this book, and it's kind of like it gives a false sense that depression and, you know, suicidal thoughts are curable, and they're not, other than, you know, from a professional to try and help you cope through those. So I am by no means any of those things, but just giving my opinion on how I interpreted the book. It kind of, you know, is a fresh light of, you know, this lady is stuck, is not happy, is depressed, and wants to commit suicide, and attempts to, and then she gets stuck in this midnight library world, and she's able to dive into any book that is there, and she dives into that story. And as she starts reading that book, you know, she lives that story of what it is. And because, you know, she wasn't happy with her own life, she thought that, you know, going into all these different stories were going to be better than her current life. So this is kind of what the pictures are on the right-hand side of, you know, where she wanted to be, you know, famous, or a swimmer, or she wanted to go, you know, what was the Arctic something, where she wanted to go, you know, research polar bears or something like that. Anyway, so yeah, she kind of dove into all of these different stories, and the ending was really sweet and nice, and kind of came together quite nicely. And again, it was just kind of a refreshing light that it's not always greener on the other side. Really, the grass is not always greener on the other side, and that's just kind of, you know, what that book is about. And again, I really enjoyed it. It was a different avenue of the books that I normally read, so it was nice to kind of exercise my brain a little bit, because I mean, when I read romance novels, there's not all that much going on for the most of it. So yeah. So anyways, I really enjoyed that book. So now I'm starting to work on my cover page for February. So I mean, you missed what I did for January and how that one came together. So here's February, and I really like how this title page came together. And I basically do the same thing. I did screw up on the U, but it's all good. It's all good. I just made it seem like it was on purpose, and I'm just moving on because I didn't want to cover it up, because to me, it didn't bother me that much. I also like to use my reading journal as more of a also spot to use up like my extra photos and stuff that I print out for my bullet journal themes. So it's just another spot to kind of, again, be creative and to have a book of all of the books that I've read, which is pretty sweet considering I only started reading in 2021. I read 2 books in 2022 during COVID and when my son was a newborn, and then I stopped and then didn't read again until 2022. Yeah, and I picked up my first book since 2020 in April of 2022, and then read, what, 14? No, how many books did I read last year? 14? Let me see if I can check on my Goodreads. I don't really know even if I know where to look for my Goodreads. How many books did I read last year? I read, 17. 17. Did I say 17? Yeah. And my goal was only 6. Anyway, so as you see, I'm setting up my February. On the right-hand side are my stats as usual. However, I did add in listened instead of just pages read, because I am reading audiobooks now, or listening to audiobooks, not quite reading, but I am listening to audiobooks now because I listen to them on my commute back and forth to work. And it's a great way to kind of add more books into it. So actually 2 of these 3 books were audiobooks. The 1,000 Boy Kisses was audio, and same with my brother's Billionaire Best Friend were both audiobooks that I listened to on my way to and from work, which is quite nice. So that I still included, no, I didn't include. So the pages read, I didn't include the audiobooks. I only included the physical books, and then my listened, I just put the audiobooks duration, where I think in January, I just totaled everything together. Even if it was an audiobook, I still counted those as pages read. But, moving forward, I wanted to separate them so that it's clear of, how many hours versus how many pages I physically read. But however you decide to keep track of it, that's totally up to you. This is just how I want to keep track of it. I think that audiobooks are still reading books because you're still, choosing to read that book as opposed to listening to music or, a podcast or whatever. So I still consider it reading. And yeah, so now I'm already started, but I'm working on the 1,000 Boy Kisses book that I listened to. And this one was, I want to say it was so cute, a little sad. It has my heart. It is like Rune and Poppy. Rune and Poppy are destined to be together. There was one little scene that I thought that Rune got a little bit more aggressive than I would have liked to see him get, but I understand why he got that way and why they made the character do that. And I mean, it makes sense, but he did get a little bit more aggressive than I would have liked in that just one scene. But I did really enjoy this book. This book was very, very good. Very good. Takes you on a little bit of a roller coaster. And yeah, I mean, not the best book you want to read while driving, because if you're crying, it's not good when you're driving, but I did okay. Anyways, you'll see that I decided to, write out the title on the actual page as opposed to putting on that, normally that craft paper that I like to put onto my spreads, but it didn't quite fit the amount of space that I still had left, and I wanted to kind of fill up this whole space. And I do really like, writing out the title in cursive. And then similar to what I did for the things we never got over, is I had this sticker sheet of a bunch of flowers, and I decided to just use up the whole thing. I'm really trying to be, intentional, which intent is my word of the year, and to use my stash. So I thought that I might as well use up the full page as opposed to only using, or leaving a couple of flowers left, because it will just get lost and then I'll never use it again. So might as well just fully use it up. So now I'm moving onto the next book that I listened to. And this one actually, so I have the Audible subscription, but I mean, I didn't realize quite how it worked, that you got, you paid $15.99 a month and Canadian, and you get to use that as a credit to get one book per month. So I obviously read or listened to the first book already, and I still didn't have my credit for the next one. So I looked through and seen a bunch of different books that were available on their catalog. And I really like the rich guy and, not rich woman trope. So, I mean, this one had it in its title that the brother's best friend was a billionaire. So, yeah, I read this. I did rate this 4 stars, actually. I did rate this quite high, but I really enjoyed it. It was exactly what I wanted. It was funny. There was some smut in there, and it was the definition of a rom-com book. And again, I really enjoyed it. So I'm very happy that, this was a part of the, free catalog that comes with Audible. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was by Max Monroe, and I believe there are actually a few other books by this author online as well, or on the Audible subscription as well. And I will definitely read more of their books because I really enjoyed it. The comedy was there. The rom-com part of it was there, and that's what I really liked. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. It took me 2 days to read it. February 10th to 12th, because I like to read my books on 1.4, and it went by pretty quickly. It wasn't that long of a book. Moving on to my very last spread of, the books that I read in both January and February. And this has to be probably my favorite book of all time. I absolutely devoured this book. It was very intimidating for me at first because it is over 600 pages, and I was just, holy crap, how can I read 600 pages? But I ended up reading this all in one single month. It was my only physical book that I read in February, and like I said, I absolutely loved it. It is A Court of Mist and Fury, and it is the second book of the ACOTAR series. And I know that this gets a lot of hype on TikTok. I know it's really a hit or miss of if it's worth it or not, but for me, absolutely worth it. It is my first book really that I'm reading. I mean, I did read the first one obviously, but it's my first series into the romance fantasy, and holy cow, I love it so much. I'm currently reading the next book in the series, which is a whopping 700 pages. And so it was quite intimidating for me for sure. I did read It Ends With Us in the beginning of March to kind of, have a book in between to feel a little accomplished, to get at least one book done in a month, just because, 700 pages is very overwhelming for me. But I love this world so much and these characters, and Reese is just heaven. And I love this series so much. And I like that, it's not pages and pages of explaining the world, but I can still visualize everything that's happening and, what the characters look like. Obviously looking on Pinterest and seeing this fan art, and wow, the people that are able to do this fan art, props to you, because this artwork is absolutely stunning, and thank you for it so that I can put it in my journal. But it's nice to kind of visualize a character based on that artwork, and I love. But yeah, so those are all the books that I read. I read 6 books in 2 months. Very happy with that. And here are the spreads. So if you made it this far, I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you like, comment, share, subscribe, all of the things, and I'll see you very soon in my next one. Bye.